the record will reflect the presence of the members of the jury. Mr. Earls has returned to the courtroom. Do you understand that you are still under oath?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. You may continue with your examination of the witness.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Earls, we left off, we had just admitted, or the court accepted into evidence State's Exhibit 296, which I believe was a black bra. With respect to that black bra, did you conduct any presumptive testing on it?
Yes, I did.
And can you explain for us what is presumptive testing?
Okay, so let's say.
May we approach that?
All right, you may. occasion, the court is asked to rule on certain issues, and when I rule on certain issues, it then requires the person or party calling the witness, it requires them to provide an instruction to the witness consistent with the ruling of the court. And I don't want you to draw any conclusions or inferences from any of that, just simply to avoid a situation where a witness might say something that would be inconsistent with the court's ruling. So when that happens, you'll see an attorney go up with a witness simply to provide an instruction to the witness so the witness knows what the court's ruling is. Right? And that's a routine thing that occurs during a trial. You shouldn't draw any inferences one way or the other than that the witness has been instructed in accord with the court's instructions. All right, proceed.
So Your Honor, I just want to make sure of one thing, that the name of those products were not already mentioned.
That's
my question. If it was,
that's the court's understanding, and again, I'm authorizing the prosecution to ask a direct leading question that goes right through that in one or two questions.
Just for the record, to counsel's question, the state did not say the name, nor did Mr. Earl say the name.
Understood.
That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah. So go ahead and
Thank you. Now, Mr. Earls, with respect to the black broad, did you conduct any presumptive testing on the broad to determine whether or not you're going to forward it for further testing to a DNA laboratory?
Yes, I did.
And when did you conduct that testing?
It was the evening of the 14th, once I returned from where the items were recovered from.
And after you conducted this presumptive testing, where did you send the black bra to eventually?
The items were sent to the Honolulu Police Department Scientific Investigation Laboratory.
And finally, the presumptive testing, and I'm not sure if this is going to mean anything. Strike it. I'm not going to ask any further questions with respect to that. Let me turn your attention
Well,
now.
I think he has one other part to ask about that.
Is a presumptive testing inconclusive and presumptive? I'm not sure if you understand what that means.
Are you asking if it is inconclusive, then is it a presumptive positive?
No, because that makes no sense to the state either. Wait, hold on now.
so the question is withdrawn. And
No, I don't think there's any further question regarding this.
Mr. Earls, and counsel, you can object if you want to, but Mr. Earls, when you do presumptive testing, it's presumptive only. No, it's not a final result. Is that correct?
Correct, presumptive only.
That's fine, Your Honor.
Okay, proceed.
Thank you. Now let me turn your attention to the same date. This is early, although this is an early morning Friday, February 14, 2014. Do you recall if you received any other evidence from an officer of Bonacorsi?
Yes, I did. Early in the morning, around 2 o'clock in the morning.
And can you tell us how is it that you were made aware that you were to receive some evidence from an officer of Bonacorsi?
I received a telephone call from my lieutenant, who assigned me to meet them at the forensic facility to accept the items that were wet and they needed proper drying before packaging.
And when you say you were, I guess, assigned to meet them, who are you referring to?
Officer Bonacorsi and Officer Takushi.
And did you just say you met them at the forensic facility?
Yes.
And approximately what time was this?
Approximately 2 in the morning.
And when you arrived there, were you alone or was there anyone else with you and the two officers you mentioned?
Just the 3 of us.
And can you tell us what happened at that point?
Sure. So again, I was informed that they had received some wet items of evidence, some clothing, I'm assuming, at that point. So I then recovered that from them, received that from them, and placed those items that were already in bags, plastic bags, into our secured refrigerator until I had a chance to get to processing them.
And the secured refrigerator, can you describe what is that?
Okay, it's a refrigerator and a freezer that's used only for evidence items, and only we have access to that.
So it's not a place for people to put their lunch or anything like that?
No.
And after you secured it in that refrigerator, did you handle it at a later time?
Yes, I did.
And when you handled it at a later time, had those items been handled by, could you tell if those items have been handled by anyone else?
They had not,
And how do you know that?
because I and my coworker are the only two who have access to that locked and secured facility.
Did you take an inventory when you went back to those items as to what they were?
Yes, I did.
Was this on the early morning hours of February 14th, or was this at a later time?
This was later on the evening of the 15th.
And were you with anyone when you took an inventory of those items on the 15th?
No, I was not.
And when you took inventory of those items, can you describe what you did for us, please?
Sure. So the items were removed individually. Again, they were in individual bags in the refrigerator. And so I would take each bag out, take it into the evidence processing lab, and then I recovered from on each of the items and placed into individual containers the insect larvae, which were present, and try to get as many as I could, the obvious ones. And then I would take that item and place it into a forensic drying cabinet for drying. Underneath that, you would place a piece of paper to capture anything that may fall off of the item when it's drying.
And can you tell us which items you inventoried, please?
Yes. So there was a green blanket. There was a black skirt, a blue tank top shirt with polka dots. There were a pair of black jeans, and then there were actually 2 containers of maggots that had been previously collected by that officer, and they were marked separately as well. So I kept them in their original. I never took them out of the original packaging. And then there was 2 rolls of masking tape that was also wet.
Did you mention the gray sweater?
Oh, I'm sorry, and the gray hoodie sweater. Yes, sorry.
Is this the same drying cabinet that you testified earlier where you had put the black bra that was recovered?
The same type, but we have numerous drying cabinets.
And when you place these items in the drying cabinets, are they separated or are they together?
They're separated, yes.
When you say they're separated, can you describe how they're separated?
So imagine our laboratory has about 5 of these units. They're like the size of a refrigerator, and you open it up. Inside we have cleaned from the previous use, made sure it's nice and clean. We also have hangers that we'll use to hang clothing, for example, something to let the air go through the items.
And with respect to what you said, the maggots that were previously recovered by the officer, was it Bonacarson?
Yes.
Did those maggots, did those go in the drying cabinet as well, or did they?
No, they were actually in a vial, like a urine specimen cup, and actually 2 of those. And then I actually just added some preservative to them on that same evening, I think, on the 15th.
And where did you put that?
In the refrigerator, back in the refrigerator.
Now, before you placed the items in the blanket, the pair of pants, the gray hoodie, into the drying cabinet, did you remove anything from that?
Just the insect larvae, the maggots that I could, as good as I could get, because there were quite a few.
Did any one piece or any one item of the clothing that I just mentioned, did any one of them contain more or less than the other?
Not that I recall.
Now, did you, we talked about the black bra and the presumptive test. Did you conduct any presumptive tests on any of those items that you recovered, clothing items that you recovered from Officer Bonacorsi at 2 o'clock in the morning Friday?
Yes, I did.
And which items were those?
I know that there were several stains on the blanket, the green blanket that I tested. And then several of the stains, there were several stains on the gray hooded jacket, as well as the tank top with the polka dots had some stains that were tested. The skirt had some stains that were also tested. And the black jeans, there was some staining on that as well that I tested.
Now, let's start with the staining on the, let's start with the black skirt you mentioned. Could you describe the staining that you observed?
Okay. So the black skirt had like a reddish stains on it, mainly on like one side. So in other words, there's an exterior surface and an interior surface, using the seam as depicting which would be the interior. So I noticed stains on the exterior surface of that black skirt.
And what, if anything, did you notice about the material of that skirt, the black skirt?
The material of the skirt had numerous holes in one region of the skirt.
And where were the stains located that you just described?
They were on the same side as the holes.
I'm sure council has been marked for identification as case exhibits 74 and 75. And exhibits 277 through 280 marked for identification as well. May I approach Mr. Earls with the exhibits I just mentioned?
You may do so.
Thank you. Mr. Earls, I'm showing you exhibits 74 and 75, together with exhibits 277 through 280, all marked for identification.
Okay. Okay.
Do you recognize those exhibits?
Yes, I do.
And what are they?
These are photographs that I took depicting the black skirt.
And do those photographs also depict the staining and the holes that you just described earlier?
Yes, they do.
Are they true and accurate depictions of the skirt when you took? Well, did you take those photographs?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Are they true and accurate depictions when you took the photographs?
Yes, they are.
And when did you take them?
I don't know the exact date. This was after the items were dried.
Was it before you conducted any presumptive testing on it?
Yes.
Based on that, the state would move into evidence states exhibits 274 and 275 and State's Exhibits 277 to 280.
Can I correct those numbers? It's actually 74 and 75.
Yeah.
That's correct, 74 and 75, not 274 and 275.
Mr. Rowe.
No objection.
State's Exhibits 74 and 75, as well as 277 and 280, so marked for identification purposes, are all received in evidence. You may publish if you wish.
Thank you. And again, this will be Exhibits 277 through 280.
277, 280, 74, and 75.
No, I'm sorry, 277, 278, 279, and 280.
My apologies. I did mention them individually. 277, 278, 279, 280 are all received in evidence.
Thank you. And you have permission to publish.
Permission granted.
And maybe Mr. Earl step down the portion.
You may do so.
They first show you State's Exhibit 277. Okay, can you tell us this photograph that you took? What are we looking at?
Okay. Exhibit 277 is a photograph of the entire one side of the exterior view of the black skirt, and along with a ruler along the left side of the image.
Okay. Now, you testified that the hose was in one area of the skirt, is that correct?
Yes.
Is this the area that you're referring to?
This image does show a overview of the whole front of the skirt, or one side of the skirt.
Okay, and show you State's Exhibit 278.
So
What are we looking at there?
I'm sorry, 278 is getting a closer view of that same region with the staining and the holes.
Okay. And State's Exhibit 279. What are we seeing here?
279 is the same skirt, but now getting even closer area with the staining as well as the holes, and then there's a disposable scale that's been inserted onto the image.
And did you place that scale there?
Yes, actually onto the skirt when I was taking the photograph.
And you show you State's Exhibit 280. And what are we looking at there?
This is an extreme close-up. 280 is an extreme close-up of the area with the holes and the stains from the skirt.
And is this the area that you mentioned or you testified that you conducted the presumptive testing on?
Yes.
And showing you State's Exhibit 74. Is that the same viewpoint?
Yes, this is actually the overview of the whole item with the scale showing the size along the left side.
And State's Exhibit 75.
75 is the same, except on this one, a white paper towel was placed in between the two sections of the skirt so that you could visualize the holes easier.
So you placed that white paper in between that?
Correct.
Okay, please have a seat. So you mentioned that you also observe some staining on the blue tank top with white polka dots, is that correct?
Yes.
And can you describe the staining you observed on that clothing item?
Again, it was a visible stain, so an obvious stain. And it was on predominantly one side, but there was some on other sides as well.
And did you conduct a presumptive test on the blue tank top?
Yes, I did.
And in which area?
In that staining area.
You know, Arbitration Council, what has been marked for identification of states exhibits 86 to 90, marked for identification. Can I may approach with these exhibits?
You may do so.
Thank you. Ms. Earls, I'm showing you States Exhibit 86 through 90, marked for identification. Please take a look at those. Do you recognize those exhibits?
Yes, I do. These are photographs that I took of the blue and white polka dotted tank top.
And were those photographs taken before or after you had placed them into the drawing cabinet?
After.
And was it around the same time you took the photograph of the black skirt?
Yes.
Do they accurately depict the blue tank top when you photographed them at that time?
Yes, they do.
And you understand we're moving to evidence states exhibits 86, I'm sorry, yes, 86 through 90, all marked for identification.
Mr. Akakū.
No objection.
States exhibits 86 through 90 inclusive, some marked for identification purposes, are all received in evidence. You may publish.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Earl, step down and approach the monitor.
Yes.
And I'm showing you, beginning with States Exhibit 86, can you tell us what we're seeing here?
Okay, States Exhibit 86 is a photograph of the front exterior of a blue tank top with white polka dots and a ruler along the very top of the photograph.
Now, you testified that you did observe, and your words were obvious staining there, is that correct?
Yes.
Is that depicted here in this photograph?
Yes, it is.
And can you show us where?
Sure. Several areas, some here on the right area of the strapping on the upper right, some in the near center of that front.
And showing you States Exhibit 87. What are you looking at here?
Okay, 87 is the rear view of the exterior of the same tank top. Again, with staining mainly up on the upper portions.
And States Exhibit 88.
Okay, now I've taken the tank top, turned it inside out to visualize even more clearly the staining on the inside of the tank top.
And is this the front portion of the tank top?
That would be the front, yes. Interior of the front.
And did you conduct a presumptive test with respect to this blue tank top with white polka dots?
Yes, I did.
And which areas did you do that?
There are several areas that were selected just randomly here in this vicinity. And on the next photo, you can see the areas marked clearly. after I had sampled.
Okay.
They have a black Sharpie markers, circles around them with like A, B, C, D, E. Yes.
Okay. And you took this photograph as well?
Yes. Exhibit 89 shows the same view, but now I have shown the areas from where I did sampling.
And what are we looking at here in State's Exhibit 90?
Exhibit 90 is showing an exterior view of the back of the tank top, and these brightly colored arrows are pointing to small holes in the garment.
I want to go back to State's Exhibit 89. You testified that you took samples, is that correct?
Yes.
When you say you took samples, can you describe how you took those samples?
Sure. Standard procedure is to take a sterile, of course with gloved hands, a sterile cotton swab with a vial of sterile water. Put a couple drops of the sterile water onto the cotton swab, rub it onto an area of where you want to get a sample from, transferred to the cotton swab, and that's how the swabs were collected.
And what did you do with those, what did you eventually do with those samples of the cotton swabs you just described for us?
After the presumptive test, or that was for presumptive testing.
Okay. Okay, please have a seat. Now, you also testified that you did place a gray hoodie into the drying cabinet, is that correct?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you notice about the gray hoodie?
There was some stains on the lower portions of the sleeves.
Did you conduct a presumptive test on the gray hoodie?
Yes, I did.
And this time I'm going to be showing counsel what has been marked for identification of state's exhibits 248, I'm sorry, 246 and 247. May I approach?
You may do so.
Thank you. Ms. Rose, I'm showing you what has been marked for identification of state's exhibits 246 and 247. Please take a look at those two exhibits.
Okay.
Okay, do you recognize those?
Yes, I do. These are photographs I took of the dried hoodie, gray sweatshirt or jacket.
And do those photographs accurately depict the gray hoodie that you photographed? Again, did you do this at the same time you took photographs of the black skirt and the blue tank top?
Once the items were dry, yes.
And aren't they accurate depictions of that item?
Yes, they are.
Has it been changed or altered in any way?
No, they have not.
Your Honor, the same with moving evidence, state's exhibits, what are they?
246 and 247.
246 and 247 marked for identification.
No objection, Your Honor.
State's exhibits 246 and 247, marked for identification purposes, are received in evidence. You may publish.
Thank you, Your Honor. And you may step down. Oh, sorry, Your Honor. Can you step down? Okay, showing you state's exhibit 246. What are we looking at here?
Okay, exhibit 246 is an overhead view of the front portions of the gray hooded jacket. You can see it has a zipper front, and then you can see the staining that I was referring to, like mainly on the sleeves, the lower portions of the sleeves.
In exhibit 247.
247 is the same hooded jacket that has been flipped over, so now you're able to see the rear or the back portions of the jacket.
Let me ask you this last question. Do you recall when, the date that you took these photographs of the gray hoodie, blue tank top, and the black skirt?
I do not know
If I
the
could show you a copy of your report, would that help you refresh your recollection?
Not necessarily, only because I took hundreds of photographs of all this evidence, so I don't document the exact time that each item was. If you right-click on that item or that image, that digital image, it will be able to tell you the exact time and date that it was taken, but I don't have.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I have no further questions at this point.
All right, I think this would be an appropriate time to adjourn for the day, Mr. Rivera.
I'm sorry.
Would this be a good time to
Perfect
adjourn?
Yes.
All right, then we will adjourn for the day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for your service today as jurors. Please keep in mind my cautionary instructions. They remain in effect, and we'll see you on Friday, September 16th at 9 a.m. All right, have a nice evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.